Strongholds Ministries. Good morning, Facebook Live. Happy Shabbat, happy Shabbat. This is the day, when I say this, and I want us to understand this, because sometimes we can just look over the small words as if they're nothing, but actually they're very powerful. This is the day that the Most High have made, so be glad and rejoice in it. He made us to have another day, because he could have brought fire and brimstones upon the earth and destroyed the whole thing. Some people did not make it to see a new day. So because we are who are in the land of the living right now, we are able to see another day. So we should be thanking the Most High just because we made it to see another day. We should not take it for granted that, oh, I'm here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Nobody knows the day nor the hour. Listen to that. No one knows the day nor the hour that the Most High may come home and get you. So when I say those words, don't take them lightly or as just thrown around casually. No. This is the day that the Most High have made, so be glad and rejoice in it. Okay? This is a very familiar passage I want to talk about today, but it just kind of impacted me today or this week on the Word. If you can, turn to the book of John chapter 1. John chapter 1, and I talked about this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I ain't gonna say never, but now I have a clearer understanding of the verse 14. But I'm not going to deal with verse 14. I'm going to deal with verse 10 through 13. John chapter 1, 10 through 13. Because verse 14 is the reward for 10 through 13. John chapter 1, verse 10 through 13. And I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to deal with the key topic, the key verse is verse 10. Yeah, verse 10. And it says in John chapter 1, verse 1 through chapter 1, 10 through 13, and it reads, He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to Let me read that over. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of El. Listen to that. That's very powerful. Even to them that believed on his name, which was born not of the blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of El. But the key verse, in order for us to understand everything that's in those 3 verses, we have to go back to verse 10. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. Okay? The title of the text this morning is, When You Know Better, You Do Better. When you know better, you do better. Because when we look at verse 14, that is the better part. Verse 14 is the better part, but I'm just going to deal with 10 through 13. Okay, the words for today. Knowledge, or to know. Knowledge is the capacity of knowing. Knowledge is the capacity of knowing, understanding, familiarity, facts or conditions of knowing, awareness of a fact, awareness of the news, the notice, the information, learning, organized body of facts or teachings. Knowledge can be learned. Knowledge can be learned or experienced. Okay? Knowledge can be learned or experienced. That's how some people gain knowledge. Instructions. Now I want to go to teach. Teach is to show, to point out, to declare. Okay? To show, to point out, to declare. To assign. To assign. To direct. To warn. To persuade. Teach means to tell, basically. Is to tell. Teach means to tell. Okay? Instructions. It's a difference between instructions and teach. Okay? It's a big difference. It's a difference. Okay? Teach is a verb. Instructions is a noun. Instructions is a 14th century word. Okay? The word instructions is actions or process of teaching. Instructions is a process of teaching. It's an array and it's an arrangement. It's a prepare. It's a set in order. It's in form. Okay? It's on the same level as teachings. But instructions is different. Instructions has the imparting or giving of knowledge for its object, but emphasize more than teaching. Instructions is more than teaching. Okay? Instructions is more than teachings. Instructions is the application of logical directions in the things taught. Teaching instructions means to show. Because it's a difference. Say if you go to you sending your schools to their teachers so that the teachers can teach your children knowledge. But now when I go to an instructor, the instructor, say when I haven't been to them in a while, but when I go to my firearm instructor, he's not just going to demonstrate to me the knowledge that he have. He's going to require that I demonstrate the knowledge that he just gave me. That's so deep, ain't it? When I go to my teachers in school, they only set me down in the classroom and gave me knowledge. That's all they did. That knowledge is just here. But an instructor, he's not just going to give you knowledge, he's going to require that you demonstrate the knowledge that he gave you. the knowledge that he gave you. He's going to require that you do everything that he required, that he demonstrated. See, some people look at the Bible as basic instructions before leaving earth. Now, when I look at instructions, the word instruction means action. You have to do actions with the knowledge or with the information that you have. In order for verse 14 in this chapter to be very significant, in order for verse 14 to resonate with you, you have to understand verse 10 through 13. You definitely got to understand 10 through 13. If you don't understand 10 through 13, you cannot be verse 14. That's why the title of the text is called When You Know Better, You Do Better. When you know better, you start applying it to your life. Okay? But let me read you a little bit about a Nazirite. Because we got to understand something. A Nazirite was Samson. A Nazirite was Samuel. Yahshua or Yahusha was a Nazirite. Okay? They was a Nazirite. Now let me point out to you about what is a Nazirite. This coming out of the Nelson Super Valued Illustrated Dictionary of the Bible. Now, a Nazirite, a person who took a vow to separate from certain worldly things to consecrate himself to God. Among the Hebrew people, anyone who could take this vow, there were no tribal restrictions as in the case of the priest. Rich or poor, man or woman, master or slave, all were free to become Nazirite. So that's where Paul get that from. When you decide you want to become a servant of the Most High, you have to literally change everything that you vow to and make yourself become what the words say. Okay, Nazirite did not withdraw from society and live as a hermit. However, they did agree to follow certain regulations for a specified period of time. While no number of days for the vow is given in the Old Testament, Jewish tradition precede 30 days or a double period of 60 or triple times of 90 to 100 days. Samson, Samuel, John the Baptist were the only Nazirite for life recorded in the Bible. Before they were born, they vowed, their vows were taken for them by their parents because their parents was not able to have children. So when their parents was not able to have children, they prayed to the Most High to ask them to give them a child. And when the Most High gave them a child, that's when the parents said, I'm going to set this child aside for your use, for your personal use, the Most High. Set them aside to be a useful child for the Most High. Okay? It says, once a person decides to make himself holy to the Lord for some special service, listen to that. For some special service. He then agreed to abstain from wine or other intoxicating drink. This prohibition was so strict that it included grapes, grape juice, and raisins. Perhaps this was to guide the Nazirite from being controlled by any spirit other than God. That's why they call alcohol spirits. people change when they intake or embark in those spirits. While under the Nazarite vow, a person also refused to cut their hair, including shaving. The purpose of this long hair was to serve as a visible sign of the Nazarite consecrations to the Lord. That's why Samson never cut his hair. Everybody knew who he was by his hair. That's why that lady vowed to want to cut his hair, because she knew the power that he had in his head because of the vows that was made. So that's saying to you that the Messiah had long dreads. Okay? A Nazarite also refused to touch or go near a dead body because this world made him ceremonial unclean. The Nazarite could not even help to bury his own. That's why he said, let the dead bury the dead. It's not because he didn't really care about it, because it was unceremonial clean for him to touch a dead body. Because he set himself apart, or he was set apart at his birth, so that he wouldn't even have to give. So he was set aside at the beginning of his mother being pregnant. So that's why he could not touch the things of the world. That's why he couldn't do the things of the world, because he was set apart. He was set aside. Okay? A Nazarite refused. Okay, now it says, if a personal accident break his Nazarite vows, he had to undergo a ceremony of restoration for the cleansing. He shaved his head, brought 2 doves or 2 pigeons to the priest for offerings. The priest made atonement for him. In addition, the Nazarite had to present a lamb. But let me go down a little bit. And then I'm going to finish. The Nazarite vow is a part of the old law. It is not imposed on modern Christians, but because it was personal and voluntary, we do not have much to learn from the Old Testament practice. God wants us to live a separate holy life and to abstain from the things of the world. Okay? It says the presence of many Nazarites was considered a sign of God's blessings on Israel. There were many Nazarites during the time of the prophet. Amos strongly condemned the people for tempting the Nazarite to break their vows by offering them wine to drink. So, what I want to talk about today is that how we can become really truly understand the word, understand who we are, how to do better in life. How can our salvation come to us? It's all about acknowledging these things that's taking place. Play a little bit of that song that we just heard. Because we need to really understand, how can I become a righteous person in this day and time? How can I become a righteous person? Because we have to realize, in the old covenant, the Most High was teaching the people. He had a personal relationship. He had to continue to be there. And he was there, hands on deck. Throughout all the situations that was going on, he was still present. He was still present in the midst, giving instructions. He just wasn't teaching, he was giving instructions. And his instructions was demonstrating things that was taking place. But when we look at the new covenant, the Most High just didn't teach, he was demonstrating through the Messiah. Go ahead and turn it up a little bit. I want us to listen to this song. Because I want us to understand that's all he ever wants. Let us listen to that. That's all he wants. He wants praise and worship. All praise him to him.
I get so excited when I think of all the things you've done for me. Do as you will, you want done with me. Oh yeah, 'cause I'm tired of fighting. Sometimes it gets hard, I cannot do it alone. 'Cause I
listen to it.
You, yeah.
We need him. We got to understand that.
You are up high.
That's all he wants, because he don't have no desire to have the earthly possessions. They're no good to him. He don't need no car, no house, no clothes. He don't need any of these things. He just needs his praises. He needs the glory. Listen to it a little bit longer.
I vow to be humble. Yeah, hearken to my sincere supplication. When I'm weak and when I stumble, you are always there to catch me when I fall. You are my rock of salvation.
His rock of salvation.
I can trust you're my best friend. Whenever I'm in doubt, to you I'll give a shout. With hands held high, I'll be calling on your name. Yeah, I reign to worship you.
DJ, turn it down.
Bow down.
After that, when you start acknowledging things, acknowledging everything about the Most High, that's when you can become verse 14. That's when you could be able to come and be what verse 14 wants you to be. That's what he actually wants you to be. That's why the Messiah said, verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall he do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So how can we do greater works than the Messiah? We got to believe. We got to believe. What do we have to believe? What do we have to believe? Let's go to verse 10 in John chapter 1. We have to believe he was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. We got to believe that he was in the world at the very beginning, and the world was made by him. And the reason why we're in the conditions that we're in today is because the world did not know him. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. I'm going to go back to my main point. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. I just want us to look at the first part of 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. It says, in whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not. See, the reason why the people didn't believe is because the God of this world blinded their eyes. So do you think people now really believe that the Messiah is present? Do you really believe that the Messiah is doing, or El is doing the things that he needs to do? And it says, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. For we preach not ourselves, but Christ Jesus the Lord, ourselves your servant for Jesus' sake. But when we go to understand why the people don't understand, it's because, or don't believe that Messiah exists, or do believe, is because the God of this world has blinded their eyes. They don't believe that he's in the world today. They don't believe that he's existing today. They don't believe that he's causing famine and pestilence upon the land. They don't believe it because of their actions. And I was talking to a guy yesterday, right? And I said, man, I'm kind of disappointed with you a little bit. I said, you know, but you don't do. I said, you know, but you don't do. But he said, man, my hope is things go better, go back to the way that things were. And I'm saying to myself, how can you hope that things go back to the way they were when the word said it's only going to get worse? It's not going to get any better. So it let me know then that he didn't recognize or believe that the Most High was in the world, that was dealing with the world at the time. If you look throughout the whole text of the Bible, of the Holy Scriptures, he's been dealing with us throughout all the generations. He's been dealing with us in this earth throughout all the generations. And this is something that we got to understand. He's been dealing with us in the earth. He's been here from the very beginning. But some of us can't comprehend that. Some of us can't have our minds wrapped around that he's here right now. Let us go to Genesis. Let us go to Genesis 5:22. This guy, this who I'm finna get ready to read about now, they took his book out of the Bible. They took his books out of the Bible. Genesis 5:22. Let's listen to it. But I'm going to read Genesis 21 and 22. And Enoch lived 65 years and begot Methuselah. Listen to this. And Enoch walked with El after he begot Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. So right here it's telling you that the Most High was in the earth walking with Enoch. That means that Enoch had a personal relationship or connection to the Messiah of the Most High. Also, let me go, just stay where you at in Genesis 5 and 22, but let me go to Genesis 3 and 8. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah walking in the garden of the cool of the day. So the Most High was in the earth at the time. And this is talking about, this is Genesis dealing with, Genesis 3 and 8, and he was dealing with Adam and Eve. So the Most High was in the earth dealing with Adam and Eve at the time. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah and amongst the trees of the garden. Listen. And Yahuwah called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou was naked? They're having a personal conversation on the earth. Okay? They're having a personal conversation on the earth. See, sometimes we think that the Creator is in some far distant planet that we can't touch. We think that he's so far away that it's incapable for us to have a relationship with him. But my wife was sitting at the desk this week, right? And she was doing some work on her desktop, on the desktop. And she didn't know numbers. This is her testimony. And this is what we live by, testimonies. She couldn't find a password to a code, to a file that she needed to open up. So the first thing she did was say, Yahuwah, I need your help. I need your help in helping me open this passcode. He started speaking to her to give her the passcode to be able to open up the file. Am I right? Is that what you told me, baby?
Yes.
That's what you told me? Mm-hmm. So at that point in time, it was letting her know that his presence is within her, it is with us at this point in time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why I gave you my testimony this week about what happened to me at in the convenience store. When I prayed that I asked him to show him that he was with me, he blessed me through somebody buying me a cup of coffee, 2 Danishes, and a glass and a big pitcher of water. So once we start to understand that he is in the midst of this earth, he's in the midst of wherever we are, he's in the midst of it. Once we start to believe that, we can start to be like verse 14. But as long as we don't believe that he is in the midst of it, that's when we're going to have difficulty. That's when we're going to start having problems. That's where we're going to start to have issues. Because if we don't believe that he's right here with us, we speak to him, we have conversations with him. If we don't believe that and take it to our heart, take it to our mind sincerely, it won't come to pass. Let's go to Exodus 18. Because we got to change our mindset. Exodus 18 and 33. That's wrong. Well, let's go to Acts 24. I miswrote something. I didn't write something down. let's go to Acts. Let's go to Acts 24 and 16. We got to understand that he's present. He's here. He's here. I'm going to go to verse 15 first. We got to understand that he's in the midst of everything that's going on. We understand that he's allowing everything to take place. If we don't believe that, we can't function as the Word becoming flesh. It says, verse 15, it says, and hope towards God, which they themselves also allow, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and unjust. And herein do I exercise myself to have always a conscious void of offense towards El and towards men. This is in the new covenant. They're applying the teachings of the old covenant to the new covenant. Now the conscious, always a conscious void of offense towards God or towards El. He's saying, I have to know that whatever I do, if it's a sin against El, if it's a sin against the Most High, I have to know that my actions here in this earth may be an offense towards Him or the people, because He is within the earth. Let's go to Genesis 17. Genesis 17 explain a little bit better. Because, let us look at it. In Genesis 17 and 1, when Abrams was 90 years old and 9, Yahuwah appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty El, walk before me and be thou perfect. Even when Moshe or Moses went to Mount Sinai to get the tablets, who wrote on the tablets? Who wrote the commandments on the tablets? Who give you your dreams? Who give you everything that you have? He's not in no far distant place where you can't reach Him and touch Him. His location is not over there somewhere where you don't have no connection to Him. And if you believe that you can't connect with Him, you can't be verse 14. You got to know that He's here right now in the midst of everything that's going on. But if you don't know better, you won't do better. If you don't come to recognize that His location is in the earth, you won't do better. Because you think, He over there, I'm over here. That's why He said, I sees all things. Let's go back to John. 1 and 11. Because we need to understand that you got two main characters, and I'm using characters not as a belittling word, but we have two main speakers in the text. Got two main speakers. In what they call the Old Covenant is the Most High. He's speaking and guiding the prophets. He is teaching everyone what they need to know, what they need to say, how they need to say it, the way they need to say it in the Old Covenant. The Messiah came for the New Covenant to do the same identical thing that the Most High did in the Old Covenant. The Most High walked with Moses. He walked with Abraham. He talked to Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Amos, and all the other prophets. So did Yahushua. He did in the New Covenant. He walked, he talked, he healed. He did the identical same thing that the Most High did in the Old Covenant. Now what Paul them doing? Paul them is doing the same thing that the Most High did, that the Messiah did, and they started to do because of their belief. They believed that he was in the earth. They believed that he walked with them. They believed that he's in here right now. They believed that he made the earth. So if you want to get to verse 14, your first understanding is that you got to believe that he was in the world and the world was made by him. See, a lot of people don't want to comprehend that. You can't do better until you really get the basics, because the basics was he was in the world and the world was made by him. By him. That's in Genesis 1. But let's go to verse 10. 11. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. Let's go to Matthew's. Chapter 13. Why did the children of Israel go into bondage in Babylon in the Old Covenant? Because they didn't do what he said do. They disobeyed the law, statute, and commandment. Matthew chapter 13, verse 57 and 58. Matthew chapter